Hello. Good introduction there, thank you. Just clarify, I joined the company late 21. We tried to run the struggling operation for a year. I gave it its dues and it didn't work. So what I did was shut the plant down in November, made a hard decision. To be fair, probably pissed a few people off at the time because they didn't understand exactly what we were up to. I had communicated pretty well that we had made a major discovery, but we were Gascoyne and no one cared. And that is fair because we had rinsed a bunch of shareholders by putting the company into administration fairly quickly after the company was formed, or around this asset originally from 2017 to 2019. I come along in 21 when I was acquired by the then mined out of administration reincarnation, or Gascoyne 2, as I like to call it, and then I came into the company to take over as MD. And then basically just adopted the similar strategy that I've always done. I did it with Northern Star. It's just about being aggressive with drill rigs, and that's where we sort of segue to that image there. We have 4 drill rigs on site at the moment. We are drilling through the waste dump right there. There is another drill rig in the background there, and then just beyond that you can actually see the processing plant. So that's exactly how close we are to our infrastructure. It really is kind of incredible every time I look at this image. That we bothered to follow up an 8 metre at 3.9 grams a tonne from 24 metre intercept, and now we're sitting on 721,000 ounces at 5.85, and it's growing. And that's what we're about at the moment. 20,000 metre program just kicked off. I'm starting to see some of the core photos come back to me now, and I'm awaiting assays. So the news flow will start again, and we will continue to grow this. Board and team. There was as was mentioned, there has been a recapitalisation in February after I shut the plant down. We canvassed a bunch of strategics to see whether someone wanted to come in and actually cornerstone the recapitalisation of this company, to see how much interest there was in this new discovery we had made. At the time we had about 80,000 ounces, and again we were Gascoyne, so I don't think people really took too much notice. We then quickly turned that into 303,000 ounces, which was our key update. But again, it was very difficult to attract the attention that I think we deserved. But again, I was working through that legacy of the Gascoyne 2.0 situation. So for me, mining unprofitable dirt is not what I want to be doing. I am a mine geologist. I don't identify as an exploration geologist. I'm certainly not that smart. I just look at the economics, and it wasn't working. So for me, what we had to do was change that grade, and I think we've done that pretty well. The share price has moved up since February to 33. Well, I think it's settled back at 31 today. There's a bit of profit taking, as you could possibly imagine. We did have a rights issue along with that recapitalisation at 10 cents, so there's a fair few people taking their sweet time to jump out with a 300% increase on their investment. So I'm happy for them to do that, but I'm in this for the long haul. We brought on Tembo Capital as our cornerstone investor, private equity firm based in Brisbane and London. They've been very supportive. They obviously put $22 million of that 50 into the company, and we've moved very quickly to establish that bigger 700,000 ounce resource. And now we're working towards a potential restart decision in the middle of next year, but there's a few key steps on the way there, and it's about building that resource, getting reserves established, and showing a very profitable mine plan on the way. I started with this plan in February. I've copped a little bit of grief for how quickly we've managed to eclipse a lot of these targets. I'm not going to apologise for that. We will establish a 300,000 ounce reserve pretty swiftly. We have eclipsed the 600,000 high-grade resource ounces that we thought was going to be a bit of a stretch back in February, and we will produce a 5-year mine plan pretty quickly. We have a 2.5 million tonne CIL plant and a gravity circuit that didn't really get a workout with the previous resource, but I'm happy to say, and as we've demonstrated in our announcements, the metallurgical test work suggests that there is a very high gravity component to this new deposit, and it's looking pretty good. We are funded. I'm not coming back to the market. I'm not cum raised. I've got 34 million bucks in the bank, and we're going to continue to drill with those 4 rigs and grow these resources. We've got a focused team. I sat down with quite a few people over the last few days to talk about getting the news, getting the Spartan story out there. Now that I've rebranded the company, I feel like we've earned the right to rebrand the company. Some people rebrand the company and expect everybody to forget the past. I wanted to change the fundamentals and then change the name. So that's what we've done. I sat down with those people and I talked about the 3 key things that make a project work. It's always about the geology, but if you don't have the right team and the money to get it done, it doesn't work. So the geology was actually the key struggle, and I think we've changed that forever. This is where we're situated, midwest of WA. We've got a lot of, I suppose, activity going on around us at the moment. West Gold to the north. We've got Ramilius directly to our east, and then Silver Lake to the south. So there's a fair few strategic people in that area, and they're obviously very interested in what we're doing. But I want to make it pretty clear, we have plan A, which is grow this resource, develop a mine plan, and look at restarting our plant. Mineral resources, I won't go through this. I will point out one particular figure there, 16.7 million tonnes at 2.2 grams a tonne for 1.18 million ounces. You take that, divide 16.7 by 2.5 million tonne, you get about 6.5 years of potential mine life. So we're looking pretty good already. And only 700,000 ounces of that is actually the Never Never deposit. The 400,000 ounces that makes up that balance, roughly, comes from the Gilbey's remnant resource, which we're currently working on and we'll update in the next few months. And then I've just hired a reserves engineer who's just told me he'll start on the 4th of October, and that's where we'll activate. We'll basically take all these resources that we're growing super rapidly and create this mine plan and come back to the market and show people exactly how we're going to feed this through the plant. Never Never gold deposit, 3.8 million tonnes at 5.85. We're basically drilling over 7 gram material at depth at the moment, so we anticipate that that grade's going to keep going higher. I'm targeting 1 million ounces by the end of this year, but we'll see how we go. And this is why I can say that fairly confidently. When you look at this, this is an ounces per vertical metre and a gradient map. You can see the pink colours are actually increasing with depth, and every MD is going to say that their ore body gets better at depth, right? We can prove it. That's drilling that's making those colours. You can see the ounces per vertical metre increasing from the previous resource, which was the 300,000 ounce resource at the end of last year, in the grey bars, increasing to the orange bars, and then as we're heading further down and getting better density in drilling, we imagine that that will get better. So 1,690 ounces per vertical metre is pretty healthy. Over 1,000 ounces per vertical metre is a pretty good benchmark for us, and we're smashing that. So happy days. Some of the highlight intercepts. There's not a lot of new stuff in this presentation from what I presented last week, but we're about to come out with a bunch of new intercepts. As I said, I'm starting to see some good core coming back, and I'm waiting for the assays. But these are some pretty amazing drill hits. You don't really see a lot of hits like this, let alone see groups of them in the one deposit. We knew we were on something pretty special just after I presented at the Resources Rising Stars conference in June last year, when we hit 54 metres at 6.5. And that included an interval of 13 metres at 51 grams. And then we consistently kept hitting this ore body. We've worked out now that the geometry is roughly 30 metres in width on average. It's about 100 metre strike length, and it does blend into the Gilbey sequence, so there is a bit of a V shape. I'll be coming out with a sort of a 3D model to show people how the geometry of this deposit works, because I think it's really key for people to understand. This is a pretty special ore body. You can tell from the grades, we've drilled over 400 holes into this now, so I'm pretty confident we're on something pretty good. I did try to throw a bit of humour in there. Instead of putting the Eiffel Tower in, I put an A380 in a while back. Most people have seen those aircraft, they're quite large. Our ore body dwarfs that aircraft, so that's just to give people an understanding of how big this thing is. And while we're drilling, and as Andrew just mentioned, while you're drilling to hit one target, a lot of the time you'll discover another one. So Inc is actually a parallel load system that sits up dip in the hanging wall, and we'll be focusing on that. And I suppose because we're drilling at Never Never at depth, we're going to be going through that Inc prospect as well. And as was mentioned, there is a waste dump in the way, but luckily we do have an open pit optimised shape that actually just shaves that waste dump. And to be honest, the grades of that open pit are going to support destacking that waste dump, which is only 20 metres high now anyway. So it's not a biggie for us, and I'll work out those economics and bring them back to market. But when you're looking at a 2.2 gram open pit that's less than 600 metres from a plant with 90,000 ounces in it, it's pretty much a no-brainer. The real upside to this, having changed, I suppose, the future of this company and this asset, is that there's not just one of these structures. And this is the story that I'm going to sort of bring to people and the journey I'm going to take people on with our drill rigs right now. We are drilling these additional targets. Never Never's on the left-hand side. This is a long section. The Gilby's open pit, previously uneconomic, and I would say mined independently, it would still be uneconomic. However, there are a number of high-grade structures that actually create that low-grade ore body that was mined through that pit, and we are targeting these parallel structures now. So Never Never is just one structure that intersects the stratigraphy, and you end up with a big accumulation of high-grade gold there, and then you get a number of these other structures that you can see in that block model there. So just to point out, that block model is actually being diluted deliberately because it was done by the previous management to try and reduce the overcall and basically, put a bit of conservatism into the mining so that they didn't overcall and end up with under-reconciliation, which is what sent the company broke the first time. So for me, we look back into the raw data, and this is the new imagery we'll be coming out with in the next week that will show people exactly why we think these structures are real. The raw data tells us there's existing drill holes there, there's grade control information that tells us it's there. The mine geologists that were working in that pit that are now logging the drill core for Never Never are telling me that they've seen exactly the same mineralisation in those areas within the pit. And in March last year, we hit a record quarter, which allowed us to pay off a $20 million con note out of cash flow because we mined one of these structures. And when you put all those observations together, it's pretty clear that there's some pretty special dirt in that pit. What are we doing right now? I needed to update this. We've actually got 4 drill rigs on site. They've been arriving flat out, 20,000 metre surface drill program, and it's just about growth. I mean, the M&A in the region, people ask me every day what's going on with M&A. I'm not really fussed. What we're doing is creating a new company under a new banner, which is Spartan, and we're going to take this forward and grow it as big as we possibly can, as quickly as we can. We're going to drill Never Never, we're going to drill that Ink prospect, we're going to drill the 2 new high-grade areas beneath and trending west of Gilby's. We're going to drill Arc, which looks like an interesting higher-grade prospect just to the north of Never Never. So we're seriously not resting on this one discovery. We're going to try and blow this whole area up. And we're going to drill test our SAM targets. So we did a subaudiomatic magnetic survey, and we're going to be putting all that together and out to the market fairly shortly. It's taken a long time to get some processing done on that, but we finally will be able to put that out shortly. And that identifies a number of these structural intersections, which we are hopeful will give us that high-grade potential. But as I said, I'm not an exploration guy. I'm actually focused on what we know, and the facts are there is high grade that we can drill right now, and that's what we're focused primarily on. We've got 10 projects underway to make sure that we answer all the questions before they're asked. Does the metallurgy work? Does the geotechnical work? Does the mill work? Can we optimise the throughput? What can we do coming up to a restart decision to make this better, get better recovery, and get the maximum profit from this? We're building out the team. As I said, we've got a reserve engineer starting on the 4th of October, and his primary role, his only role, is to get a reserve, mine plan, mine design and mine schedule happening. We made a decision just recently. We budgeted for about $8 million to go and put in an underground drill drive, which would give us the ability to drill out high density drill spacing across the Never Never deposit. Turns out we did better than what we thought from the surface. We got a better resource than what we thought. We indicated 76% of those ounces. So we kind of found a reason to not have to do the drill drive. Plus we found out through industry costs that development meters now are very expensive. So it was a pretty easy decision to make to put more money into drilling more Never Nevers. Why invest in Spartan? It's pretty simple. It's all about facts. I'm not talking about potential. I'm talking about a resource that is growing on a daily basis. We've got high grade. We've got a 2.2 gram open pit in front of that plant. It's very easy to turn that plant back on. We're maintaining it on a high state of readiness. We rotate the mill twice a week. The greasing system still works. We've taken all the liners out. We've really looked after that plant because we know we can turn it back on pretty quickly. We've got proven scale, 16.7 million tonnes divided by 2.5 equals, like I say, 6.5 years potentially, and we'll make that 10. That's my personal goal. Proven growth took us less than 12 months to get to 720,000 ounces, and we did it for less than $14 an ounce discovered. So we've been very efficient with our drill meters and our spend, and we're a proven team. I've got a bit of stuff up with the text there, but we are a proven team of discoverers. This is what I've done. This is probably the 4th time I've done this across a different broken asset and brought it back to the market. I did it for Northern Star for many years. I did it for Silver Lake when they first started, and now I'm doing it for Spartan. We're assessing our infrastructure in terms of whether we can slow that mill down and improve recoveries, bring up that head grade and not have to process so many rocks. But for the moment, we're going to stick with the 2.5 million tonne per annum run rate, and we'll make that work, and anything else is upside. Our market cap, 289 million. It's actually 34 million in cash, although my CFO's updated that, so there we go, 30 million in cash. We're spending it faster with our drill rigs. And we've got active news flow. I mean, one of the things that people talk about as explorers, they talk about potential and don't keep people updated with what's happening. One of the things I'm very hot on is just to make sure that we're transparent. I mean, from a Gascoyne perspective, I think there's a lot of legacy there, and with the Spartan rebrand, I want to make sure that people understand exactly what we're doing. So we will be delivering lots of news flow. 4 rigs creates a lot of news flow. And that's it. Thank you.